Hello everyone, it's time for my first official devlog for my upcoming pixel art game, Nanoplanet. If you want to know more about who I am and the inspiration for this game, or if you'd like to see the initial scene setup and character movement implementation, check out my intro devlog here. But for now, I'll give you a quick recap on what my game's about. My indie game Nanoplanet is about Earth experiencing an apocalyptic event due to climate change and a crew of astronauts, or as I call them, nanonauts, that leave Earth to find a new home planet. The crew crashes on the destination planet, and then you, the main character, wake up and find out the planet isn't hospitable as you once thought. You'll then go through a series of quests to wake your crew members from their cryo chambers, explore the planet, meet the alien civilizations, learn their language, and help save their planet. I like to think of my game a lot like Stardew Valley, but instead of taking over a farm and the antagonist being the JoJo Mart, you're terraforming a planet and the antagonist is climate change. Now that you know what my game is all about, let's dive into the features that I implemented this month. The first thing I decided to add was 3 different sized biodomes. Biodomes are the equivalent to the farm in Stardew Valley. This is where your player will plant all their crops, build machines, smelt ore, talk to crew members, recharge their oxygen levels, and more. Each biodome has a door that you must open to enter the airlock. Once you've entered the airlock, you must close the door behind you to repressurize the chamber. Once the airlock is closed, your character will change out of their astrosuit and into their custom character look that you created when you started the game. But more on that later. Now that you're inside the biodome, you can walk around and start farming. Well, you can't actually farm yet because there are no plants in the game. So next I added over 20 plants to the game and the ability for those plants to grow using a state machine. I then added the ability to place seeds on the ground, and when you're holding the seed in your inventory, you'll get a tile highlighter UI that lets you know if you could place a seed on the tile below you in the direction of your mouse. Because of the lore of the game, you're only going to be able to plant seeds in the biodome until you beat the game's main storyline. When you plant your seed, dirt automatically appears underneath the plant. I also added a shoveling sound effect when the seeds are planted and the dirt's placed. Next, I added the ability to water your plants and added this cool little sound effect. Once the plant is fully grown, the player can chop down the plants using their ray saber or shoot them down with their ray gun to harvest the fruit. I spent quite a bit of time working on a pixelated dissolve shader that dissolves the sprite when it's harvested, and I love how it looks. The next thing I worked on was making the plant die if it's been fully grown for a really long time without being watered or harvested. When I finished adding plants and farming to the game, I was really enjoying working on shaders, so I continued with my shader work and created a wind shader for the game. Now, any plants that are outside the biodome will be affected by this wind shader. After implementing it, I thought it might be better to only have it windy sometimes, which gave me the idea to add a weather system in my game. I drew up some rain and lightning animations and added those into my game with audio. The next thing I did was build a weather system that cycles between stormy days and dry days based off of the current season. When it's storming, the wind intensity increases and the wind shader is applied, and when it's not storming, there's no wind applied to the plants. I love how the storms look, but the transitions in and out of storms was instantaneous and it didn't feel right. So I worked on one more shader. This was a pixelated God ray shader that fades when the clouds go in and out when a storm's transitioning. I just want to thank Stony from Discord for all the assistance with shaders. You're a shader guru and I couldn't have gotten these shaders working without you. The last component of the weather system that I wanted to add was for a rainbow to appear the day after the storm. The rainbow effect is very subtle, but I like the way it looks. I plan to add increased loot drop chances and maybe other lucky events that can happen if there's a rainbow out that day. I think overall the weather system was a great addition and it really adds a lot of atmosphere to my game. Get it? Atmosphere, weather. Okay, anyways, once the weather system was in place, I added a few other features to the game. The first of these was separating the grass sprite from the grass tile so that it could be affected by the wind shader too, and the player could walk behind the grass sprite. The next thing I worked on was building out a fully fledged inventory system. There's now a hotbar and an inventory bag. You can swap items in your hotbar and it updates the character with whatever item you're now holding. You can also swap items between the hotbar and the inventory bag. I decided to go with only a 4-slot hotbar because I wanted to map each of the hotbar slots to an individual button on the D-pad of the controller when I add controller support. Right now, on mouse and keyboard, you can tab between these slots and select 1 through 4 on the keyboard to instantly select a slot. Another UI feature I worked on was adding 3 custom pixel art fonts to the game. In a previous prototype of this game, I built out a completely custom UI solution on top of Unity where every UI element was just a game object and none of the elements were a part of the canvas. This wasn't very scalable, so this time I wanted to make sure I used Unity's most up-to-date UI tech, and right now that's TextMesh Pro components. Getting my pixel art font working with a black outline inside a TextMesh Pro component proved to be pretty difficult. There's not much online about pixelated 2-color fonts for TextMesh Pro, so after a couple days of researching and playing around with it, I finally got it working on my own. Because it was hard to find online resources and quick and clear instructions on how to do this, I created a tutorial and posted it on my channel. You can view it here. Once I added my 3 custom pixel art fonts, I decided to go ahead and make the cursor pixelated too. I drew cursors for when the player is hovering over UI elements, a cursor for when the player is holding the ray gun or the ray saber, a watering can cursor, and a switch items cursor for when the player is switching items in their inventory. Another small feature I added to the game was 2 different footstep sounds that fire from animation events when the left and right foot touch the ground in the sprite animation. Now the player has cute little footsteps as they walk around. In the future, I plan to vary the footstep based off the tile the player is walking on, but for now I think it's good enough. The game is coming along great, but I'm still missing a very key feature, a main menu scene. I added this to my game and drew up a pixelated planet to sit on the right side of the screen. I'm very happy with how it turned out, but I want to make the planet rotate in the future. I'm trying to find a realistic way to draw a pixelated planet rotating without having to draw 200 frames for the planet rotation animation. I'm thinking about creating a 3D model of a low poly planet in Blender, and then animating it to rotate, and then applying a pixel shader in Unity on top of it. But that's for another devlog. If you have any better ideas on how I could implement this, please let me know in the comments below, or even join the Discord community and let me know there. Well, after that shameless plug, I might as well do another. If you'd like to support this game on a whole nother level, you could join my Patreon, where you'll become one of the exclusive playtesters that will get a downloadable copy of the game on every minor release until official beta. You'll also get a custom Discord badge, and you'll even get your name in the credits. The link to the Patreon is in the video description below, so please consider it. Alright, back to the devlog. Now that I had a main menu scene, I needed to add a character creation scene. I worked super hard on the scene and all the possible character combination sprites. I'm really happy with the final result. You can name your character, modify the character's hair color, hairstyle, skin color, shirt color, and even choose your favorite pet. There are over 700 combinations of custom characters you can create. You can preview those combinations in the character creation screen with the 2 windows on the left. The top window shows you the character sprite as it will appear in the game, and the bottom window shows you the character dialogue portrait. Now, it didn't make sense to add character creation scene without having a way to save your character. So right after that, I added a save and load system. I'm glad I did this early on in development, because a common indie game developer mistake is implementing a save system too late into your development and having to refactor a lot of your code and game logic to account for it. Currently, my save system just saves the file as plain JSON on the file system, but I plan to encrypt the file in a later devlog. Now that save system's up and running, I need to create a new save screen and a load save screen. These are pretty much identical with different color schemes, and that's kind of the theme going on with my UI. Each scene in the game is going to have a different color scheme for the UI so that the player can quickly identify the scene that they're on. I'll also add an overwrite confirmation that notifies the player if you try to overwrite an existing save file. Well, that's all I have planned for version 0.1 of my game. If you'd like to follow this game development journey, be sure to smash that subscribe button. And if you like this video, be sure to tell the YouTube algorithm, which will then tell me, and then I can make more videos for you. Wouldn't that be nice? That's all for today. See you next time.